Hello everyone, it's Mrs. Wallace. How are you? I just wanted to do this last video. It will be a shorter one regarding some of the timeline for the Haitian Revolution. The last thing that was noted is really about the role of Jean-Jacques Dessalines, who becomes the leader of Haiti after Toussaint Louverture. This becomes important because we also see the Declaration of Independence established under this particular leader. This occurs in 1804, and you might want to look up a copy of the Haitian Declaration of Independence. There's some excerpts of it, and I'll put an excerpt on the next slide, but it is very different than the American Declaration of Independence that's written by Thomas Jefferson, where there's really a focus on ending, the American colonies, participation in, the British mercantile system and, pushing out the British monarch. This is one where the goal is really focused on the ending of slavery and on creating a free black republic. It does end up that there is a dictator role for Dessalines, so he does become emperor in a sense. So we do see some of the Declaration of Independence, kind of leaning into some type of authority rule, but at the same time, there is a great deal of emphasis on what kind of it's very different than the notion of liberty that we see in the American Declaration of Independence. In this case, it's really enslaved persons' liberty and the preservation of not seeing that type of society again, right? Something that we know doesn't happen in the United States, okay? This is an excerpt from the Haitian Declaration of Independence. So, citizens, it is not enough to have expelled the barbarians who have bloodied our land for 2 centuries. It is not enough to have restrained those ever evolving factions that one after another mocked the specter of liberty that France dangled before you. We must, with one last act of national authority, forever assure the empire of liberty in the country of our birth. We must take any hope of re-enslaving us away from the inhuman government that kept for so long that for so long kept us in the most humiliating torpor. In the end, we must live independent or die. So this particular, kind of fight in a sense for slavery to never return to Haiti is really what this Declaration of Independence is about. For a visual of that, you can look to the modern day flag of Haiti. It is, in a sense, from a story, an anecdotal story where Dessalines took the French tricolor and ripped out the middle color, which is, white, the idea of taking the white out and really representing what he was seeing as kind of unification between perhaps various groups of people of color, maybe people who were once identifying as enslaved persons, and also a group of people identifying as free persons of color. So this largely becomes kind of this new established space. The island of Haiti, usually spelled in its traditional form as Hayti. This is a famous work of art that comes from 1995, so it's much more modern, but it gives some kind of visual to this notion of the colors that are so significant within the Haitian representation and how those colors are really important. You can see kind of connection to the heavens and to the independence movement. And this is really Dessalines, ripping and making the French flag into something that becomes, the Haitian flag. And so it has a great deal of significance and his soldiers and whatnot. And sometimes we might see this particular image and assume that it's Toussaint Louverture, but that is not the case. And this really speaks to kind of the moment of independence, and that becomes important. Napoleon's relationship, there's a lot of ways in which we can look at the relationship between the United States and France and Great Britain, and you can go in a variety of directions with this in your project. I'll note a couple of lasting impacts and some things just to keep in mind. So we know that there is Napoleon will take over with the coup and he ultimately will try to reintroduce slavery, but ultimately we know that that's not successful. The Haitian Revolution will be successful. The country will seek independence, and even before independence is really granted, Napoleon becomes very aware that the French army is losing, and he will have and experience tremendous losses under Leclerc. Many French soldiers die of disease, and ultimately Napoleon kind of does two things. He will sell the land that is the Louisiana Purchase to the United States, and so kind of giving up, in a sense, French colonization in the land that is currently the United States, and also, exiting largely out of Saint-Domingue. And so it becomes very much, like a loss for Napoleon, but it sets up the United States to have a great deal of land in which indigenous people will see a lot of colonization from, what is British colonists, and a great deal of American history is going to attach to that particular effect. There's quite a few other legacies as well. We know that the Haitian Revolution becomes a source of inspiration for a good number of people. I think the other day I mentioned in class that the American abolitionist movement is really being increased during the decades of the early 1800s. Some of this is coming from reasons within inside the United States, and things that abolitionists are doing in order to publicize their particular cause of ending slavery. We also see an abolitionist movement in Britain, which is very influential. And so there is an ending of the slave trade in 1820, but slavery continues in the United States for some time, but abolitionism throughout the early 1800s, increases, and the Haitian Revolution is really catalyzing some of the movements that abolitionist groups or people who are in favor of abolitionism, are propelling their movement based on some of the inspiration that they gain in Haiti. To some degree, abolitionism becomes kind of like a globalized effort. So you want to just consider that and the significance of the Haitian Revolution in that. We can note Frederick Douglass as one leading individual who is very articulate in writing and in speaking about abolitionism. Some of his work, including his own life story, the narrative of the life of Frederick Douglass, is very important. And he was once enslaved and is able to become free, but he also had through like many exceptions, became educated and was able to pursue a really significant role in speaking and writing to really contribute to abolitionist causes. And this is like in the 1820s, 1830s, into the 1840s. And he'll be very connected to the time period of American history and the Civil War as well. Some other things to note is there are a great deal of reactions to the Haitian Revolution from people who are very afraid of slave revolutions in their own country. Thomas Jefferson kind of speaks to this, and if you wanted to look at the question of how much does the United States really intervene in the Haitian Revolution, we know under the John Adams administration before Jefferson, there is some greater support for the revolutionaries in Haiti. There is even some American support and effort, and some of that is because the United States under Adams has a very rocky relationship with France. So some of Adams' interest is more anti-France than it is necessarily anti-slavery. But under Jefferson, who becomes very connected to France, he had been living in France and was a diplomat in France, and he is often described as a Francophile, somebody who had very favorable impressions of France, and he is a slave holder, holds a great number of racial views. He has an affair, likely sexual assault, with one of his slaves, Sally Hemings, and there's a great deal of knowledge amongst historians about that. So he's somebody who wants to remove American support for slave revolutionaries and the slave revolt. And so some of that becomes very important throughout the entirety of American government policy, you see a lot of merchant activity in terms of economic access. A lot of that is happening illegally through smuggling, but it never ceases to happen. There's a great deal of merchant activity that's taken on by that particular group. There is a great deal of shifting social and economic consequences in Haiti. So, on one hand, there is independent Haiti. The society is really called on to be largely black. At the end of Dessalines' rule, there is a purge of sorts of French people, and there is kind of a pushing out of white Haitians, as well as incorporating Haiti into a global space as a refuge for enslaved persons who flee. So there becomes, in a sense, a larger, kind of goal for Haiti. Some of the economic activity is unpopular under the first few rulers. In time, there will be a movement to more sustainable agriculture, but initially there's a lot of enforced labor to deliver revenues through plantation agriculture. We know that there is a degree of economic and political power that Haitians will seek to have on the global stage. A lot of that is going to be challenged by lack of political recognition, even though the United States merchants may be trading with Haitian merchants. The United States government won't formally recognize Haiti as a country until the time of the Civil War, and some of that lack of recognition in places like the United States or even France becomes challenging for Haiti in terms of being seen as a legitimate political power. Economically, we also see a lot of attempts to cut off Haiti, as well as attempts to charge Haiti. In the 1820s, France will force reparations on Haiti, and in some years, those reparations are about 80% of the Haitian budget. So there's a great deal of challenges to pay back those reparations, and that's something that Haitian independence becomes dependent on these French reparations. And so to seek independence and be recognized by France as an independent country, there is this large scale loan that needs to be paid back. There's a great number of other effects. The Civil war continues. There's a lot of political instability in Haiti. And of course, there's also very destructive things that happen to Haiti's environment. And so some of those things are still present. In the years after Dessalines, we see competition for political power once again. A ruler, Henry Christophe, in the north, a competitor in the south. Haiti essentially breaks into two political factions, each led by one of these leaders, and Haiti won't be reunited until 1820. So, just to give you a sense that some of the political instability really continues in Haiti long after 1804. And, we get a sense of some of the challenges that Haiti has economically as well. Okay. Be well, everybody. I'll see you in class. Any questions you have, just email me and I'll see what I can do to give you some feedback and some answers. The other thing, just keep in mind, look at all of the sources that are on Schoology, or at least a good handle of them. Part of what you're doing is synthesizing some of these sources together to help you tell some of the story, and you want to be able to evaluate some of the ways in which this revolution might be seen as revolutionary. So consider what kind of criteria and evaluation you might do in order to assess that. Okay, be well. I'll see you in class.